Hey, this is Brad Kazmarski back with a special series I'm calling FMS in Action. What we're going to do is I'm going to take you through one screen at a time and give you actual live people going through it. I've videotaped these over the years of our athletes that we screen and the people I know, and a lot of times you'll go through the certification that's how you go home and screen 50 people. And not everybody can know these people or get to do this, and they're just getting thrown to trying out the screen. So use this as an opportunity with my experience and knowledge of doing this and training people over the years of collecting this to go through and see what I see. Use my eyes and try to find out what I've looked at and give you a better perspective of what to look at. So in this first video, we're going to go through the rotary stability. This one has probably the most issues or questions. So I'm going to pop up here on the screen people's rotary stability. I'm going to do it at regular time and then slow it down and tell you what I'm looking for. This first video here is actually Michael Willie, who's a strength and conditioning coach in this area. And as you can see, he has great stability in this. I'm using him as the first example because he actually gets, I would call this a 3. But what I'm looking for really is this movement in all of these screens, are they an issue or not? Okay, so whether this is a 1, 2, or 3, I would consider this a 3, but is this an issue? He can obviously stabilize his pelvis in the shoulder position. That is not an issue for him, okay? I do not view that as an issue. He is clear on that screen. Here you're going to see a more common movement problem. The inability to stabilize the hip in a full range of motion causes the inability to stabilize the hip in this pattern. So you're going to see a shift on, try to put more pressure on the arms there, and then the ability to try to rotate the pelvis, because if you can't stabilize it, you're going to try to move around it. Here you're going to again see a fight. This is not an effort-based thing. He's trying his best to get into position, but if you can't stabilize the pelvis and the shoulder, what this screen will show you is you're going to either fall over. You can see here he's going to really set up. Think about it in slow-mo. I've broken it down so you can see him try to fight the position. And he is doing everything he can to find a comfortable position on a 2-point stance. The leg is going to go in and out. The ground leg you're going to see is going to swing side to side to try to find a stable surface. The up leg is going to also move on different planes to try to find a stable surface. This may be an issue. This is where we peel back the movement, and this is where we have to, again, look at, see that we're crossing midline here. This is stuff that takes years of being able to look at, collecting videos to be able to compile this and just have a bunch of issues all in a row to see. Not being able to stabilize midline, I know a lot of these kids, and we have issues not getting full range in the hip capsule. So we're shifting our weight forward. You could see right when we start, the hands are more far forward than they should be as a default to try to compensate the hip area, open up some space in the hip, and it's hard to even get that 2-point stance. So the body weight is shifting all directions to try to find a comfortable, stable position. If you can't do that, if you don't have the cleared space in the shoulder or in the hips and the shoulders, you're not going to get that in this position, and this position is going to expose that. This guy's a fighter, man. He's not going to go down without a fight, but this is not a strength-based exercise or a strength-based screen. He is fighting through this with his best effort, but this is not a 3. Clearly, he is not able to stabilize himself here. He's trying to find it in a position of torquing himself up a little bit, and a lot of people will do this. They'll get a higher position and try to move through this range of motion. Again, you're going to see this type of thing a lot too. Go into and fall right back out. Go into and fall right back out. Either you're going to see the lean up and try to find the top position, or if they can't get it, they're going to go right back down to the ground. A lot of times they're going to go reach and come right back and fall down. Again, if you don't have this full range of motion in the hip, as cleared by the active straight leg raise or other clearance things, you're going to see this again. It's going to fall straight back down. Again, another example of the same thing, trying to go up and touch and going right back down. You can't quite get it. Here again, crossing midline. Another thing you're going to see, the inability to have full hip movement doesn't allow you to be able to get on a 2-point stance. And that's what the screen is. Do you have full motor control after you have motion in the hip and the shoulder? If you have clear hip and shoulder motion and then you get the motor control, you're not going to see this. This is just a fault that's common in trying to find a comfortable position that you don't have. So on almost all of these types of screens that we've shown in the last couple, you're probably going to have these things pop up in the active straight leg raise, or something very similar in that the hip probably doesn't have a full range of motion, and we're trying to fight that. Here you're going to see a drastic lateral shift to try to offset the hip position by putting the body in that front loaded shoulder position, and then you're going to see it's not going to necessarily work anyways, but the brain is telling her, offset, find a stable position, and now I can pivot off of that stable position. And sometimes it's going to look like, if they go full speed, this is slowed down so you can actually see it at full speed. It might not look so bad. You're allowed to shift, which is fine. At full speed here, this doesn't look too bad. It's a little bit of a fight, but he's doing all right. In the slowed down version, you're going to see the bottom foot will actually collapse and the leg will roll over to the outside. So if you can look underneath the bottom of the foot, the foot actually falls to the ground right there and then tries to find stability on that. And at full speed, from this angle, you won't quite see that, or the other side even. Here he shifts real aggressively to the other side of the knee to try to find a stable base, and he looks pretty clean on it, honestly. So this probably isn't his primary issue, and that's what this is finding in each of these movements the primary fault. So the main benefit of using all these videos is to show you some common faults that you're going to see that you might not get without getting all these people. I don't know how many people you guys are getting to screen, but take advantage of looking at all these videos and seeing common faults, collapsing down to the ground right away or rotating up. Both are trying to find new positions. With this, yes, there's a 1, there's a 2, and there's a 3, and there's a 0 with pain. But what I'm the most interested in is this a limiting factor? And if it is a limiting factor, what's causing that? So if this is a limiting factor, obviously, we need to go back to the shoulder clearance, which is the shoulder mobility, and the active straight leg raise. If you clear the active straight leg raise and the shoulder mobility, and now this is an issue, go to the rotary stability corrections I've already put, and you can work them through that. If you see screens like this in the screening process, and you see trouble with active straight leg raise or shoulder mobility, this is why, seeing these videos, this is why you have to clean the shoulder up first and the hip up first. Because you can see they're going to either fall down or lean up and offset it, but they're going to try to, if they don't have clearance in that hip for full range of motion and in the shoulder, they're going to try to find that position of stability somewhere else. And either they're going to fall down to not do it, or they're going to lean back into it and try to find it. So this is why this screen is so important. Certain people don't think screening is important. This proves it. I think 50% of the people in this video were D1 college athletes, okay? And everyone was a starter on a varsity level. So everyone was a high-level high school athlete, and 50% of them chose to go on and play D1 athletics. Some of them couldn't and chose not to. So we need the hip. If you can't get the hip to have full range of motion, you're going to see that you can't find center. As Charlie says, joint centration. We can't find middle and be most stable. So make sure you get full hip range of motion and shoulder range of motion first, and then when you screen this and go back and start your progression, they're going to have a lot better base to stabilize on, and that's going to transition to better movements both in their sport and in the weight room and in moving in general. So I hope you enjoyed this first breakdown of the FMS in action. Review this over and over again to kind of look at things that you might not get a chance to see, because it's not too often that you get this many screens to look at all in a row and just take over your brain of saying, see, I know what I'm seeing, I know what I'm seeing. So enjoy this, rerun this over and over again till you feel completely comfortable screening the rotary stability and knowing what the issues are in it.